Hello, on to Forest Focus. Sticking another one in the collection of absolute dross for this season. There's been some stinking performances. When we're bad, there is no bottom. And tonight was another example of that. Forest beating 3-1 at Leeds United, an absolute cataclysmically shit display that was covered over with 5 minutes of good efforts at the end. But we were bad, and we were very well beaten. And we'll discuss what it all means and how we all felt about it. First, and then come for you, Mark Sutherns. Mark, how are you doing?
And another stunning intro, Matt. It shows you how bad it is that it's stirring you into such criticism. But yeah, I don't blame you. I don't know if I'm accepting this or how I feel. Like maybe I've gone through the phase now of being angry and frustrated, and now almost like accepting that this is going to be a pitiful grind to the end of the season that hopefully, very hopefully, ends in us surviving. But again, tonight was evidence that basically tactically there was no answer to Leeds at all. I was incredibly disappointed that we didn't make a change that was a positive one at half time and send the players out with a positive mindset that we could get back in the game. We changed nothing and nothing changed. We went 3-0 down. And then from that point on, it's just hopeless, pointless. We seemed to give it up on an hour and we took Gibbs White off. And I feel for the fans that are there. They went there to hopefully see a spirited performance where we tested and pushed Leeds. And what they saw was us comprehensively beaten and tossed aside.
Yeah, I mean, people might say in the chat that wasn't that bad. I don't know. I'll see what the chat say. I mean, okay. I don't know what they will. I don't know. I mean, I think, Temps, for me, we might, I didn't even introduce you. Michael Temple, how are you?
Yeah, great. Potty mouth Davies kicking things off with a sweary round. The vicar has been turned.
I mean, we might get relegated, we might not, but that was a performance of a team that gets relegated, wasn't it?
Look, it's not Dyche's fault that Neco thought he was a keeper and Murillo's pinged his hamstring. But I just think that when you see what's happening in front of you, when there's a bench with that many options and strengths, you have to make more positive attacking changes sooner than we had. And see the same side march out for the second half was really disappointing to me. Lucca made a difference, scored the kind of goal that we've signed him to score. Amari Hutchinson made good impact with the ball. I get it. Our hand was forced. That is not the back four or necessarily the keeper that we wanted to select for this game, but heads up, eyes open, react to what you see, make changes and try to get us back into this game because we've gone down without a fight there. Leeds haven't. Yeah. They've got injury problems, challenges of their own, but their want, their will, their desire to defend, the feeling that their players had off the explosive start, the first 5-6 minutes where they blew us away, bullied us down their left-hand side. We were dead and buried after 5 minutes in a possession sense. And even after we managed to get ourselves back into it and have those half chances, it collapsed shortly after. And you know what happened? That was a really bad performance. And I'm more concerned than I've been.
I think that the key word for me is belief, right? When you're 2-0 down, you've got to give the players when they're going out belief that we can get back in the game. And to do that, the most straightforward way of doing that is to either change the system or change the personnel. And we appear to do neither. So when the players come out, they're thinking to themselves, well, we've been told nothing there that helps us get back in the game. Nothing has changed tactically to get us back in the game. Nothing has changed with personnel to get us back in the game. And when you send them out like that against a team that's outplayed him in the first half, it just continued, didn't it? And yet he had all those options to actually tweak the system. He could have gone like for like and gone 3 at the back and brought the young Nets on, given him a chance and played wing backs. Gone 2 up front with Arani or Lucca up there with Jesse. He could have done so many things, so many options he had, and he chose to do absolutely nothing, even though we're 2-0 down. Even taking Dominguez off for Hutchinson would at least been an attacking move that would have given the players as they went out, okay, we've made an attacking move, let's go out and see if we can impose ourselves and get back in the game. Give the players a bit of belief, but he didn't do that. And there was no belief in the team. And watching the game, there was no belief in me that we were ever going to get back in the game. I don't know whether you thought we did, but I imagine the supporters there didn't believe either. And when you're not instilling belief in the team, that's only on Dyche, surely.
Yeah, I mean, it was game over at 3-0. I never thought we'd get back into it. We'll talk about Lucca, who did do well when he came on and made a difference. It was too late by then. I think there's 2 facets to it, Tem. So we'll talk about Mark talks quite rightly about Dyche, you have as well, and we'll talk more about that around team selection and subs and tactics. But also, when we are awful, we are so awful in terms of absolute basics of football. And I know Dyche will talk about those and people will be annoyed, but I wrote down lazy offside so many times. I don't think we won a 50-50. And that's the senior players as well. We can talk about how bad Morato was, and Zach Abbott shouldn't have played, I don't think. But Dominguez lost every 50-50 early in the game. We were lost. I don't think anyone won a battle. And then we're standing off players. If anyone's seen Band of Brothers, where the guy, and this is a real...
Where are you going here, Matt?
There's a famous, it's a real historical moment. There's an American colonel who runs through the entire German lines and then runs back again and no one stops him. And that was the first goal. Bogle ran 60 yards without anyone reacting to it. They just stood there and watched him. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So that was a strange analogy. I apologise. But just in terms of effort and fight, I mean, Leeds just literally ran, not literally, that's ridiculous. Leeds ran over us, didn't they?
Yeah, like you use the phrase basics, and wherever Sean Dyche has been, that is the thing he's instilled. You've relied on him to get the fundamentals of a team together from the pieces that he's been given, and to a lesser extent traded, and the basics have been evident for all to see. They weren't tonight. So our channel balls, lots of space in behind Leeds, but the runs were mistimed, and we were often 5 yards plus offside. Never going to spring the trap in the Premier League. And to your point, all it took was an outside to inside run across from the fullback. He should have tracked better. Olorana didn't cover himself in glory tonight. And yeah, it's Morato who finds himself blindsided. You will not find a more simple, direct means of scoring in the Premier League this weekend. The basics were not there defensively. We had a very basic game plan in an attacking sense. And even with such simplicity, the time of the run, the quality of the pass wasn't there. And we were found wanting. There was a spell where we might have got ahead in the game. The Dominguez chance off Gibbs White's knockdown, the second attempt with the left peg, Morgs' shot from outside the box, which was deflected. They were opportunities to get a foothold in the game. They didn't come off. And when Leeds had their chances, they took them. But yeah, basics were lacking. The game plan was basic. I think the changes were too late and ill-observed. And there wasn't too much that inspired confidence in me tonight.
Yeah. We'll talk about it. Igor Jesus did have another couple of moments that, when it's 0-0, you probably want one of them to go in, but they were only half chances. I'll mention this now in case I forget, but I don't think I will. Our corners are embarrassing. Like the execution of taking them. There can't be a team worse in the Football League than taking these, can there, Mark?
No, and I said before, in terms of XG from set plays, we're second bottom. We might even be bottom after this weekend. And why is that? And what are we doing to change it? I don't see anything from game to game. I don't see any invention. I don't see any great deal of variation in what we're doing. It's like, we're not a team that's going to find scoring goals easily. So, Dyche's teams have always relied on set plays for a good portion of their goals, and we don't seem to be doing it. So what's going on there? What are we doing on the training ground in terms of attacking set pieces week to week? I'm seeing no evidence of it whatsoever. And we know that Ange didn't bother with it. Right, fair enough. At least that was known, but he had an awful lot more ideas going forward on how to score a goal in open play. Whereas we seem to be lacking that and the set pieces at the moment, and have been. So every time we get a corner, I don't feel there's any degree of menace. And yet every time the opponent gets a corner, there's that feeling of dread. And that, that tells you, doesn't it, that something has to be done with that. I mean, I don't know. We can't accept it, I guess, but it does feel like it's just one of those things that isn't going to get better between now and the end of the season. And we might get a couple of goals from set plays. We got one at West Ham, of course, but I don't feel like there's a big threat there. And like I say, no variation, no invention.
No. Ronald Spears, thanks to a couple of people in the chat. Do watch Band of Brothers, best TV show ever. It's not even invention. It's just like hitting the ball somewhere within the 6-yard box would be nice, not pinging it out for a goal kick or a throw in every time. I mean, Hutchinson weren't much better, but Hutchinson did put a really good ball in. He does make things happen, but it's so embarrassing, the standard of our set pieces. Temps, unless you want to weigh in on that, can you take a better corner than that, Michael Temple?
Yeah, I'm pretty solid at corners. Yeah, got a good record there.
Well, our recruitment in the summer does need to target an actual set piece taker. So even at age 41, you're in with a shot. Let's go all the way back to team selection then. I mean, I think when everyone saw the team, our expectations dwindled, not necessarily for commitment and graft and everything, but I don't know, did Dyche get it right, or did he get it wrong for you when Murillo's out and he drafts in Morato and Abbott for the two main absentees? And obviously, Vlachodimos came in goal. That's harsh because Ortega might turn out to be a really good signing, but he struggled tonight. Ortega came in goal for Sels. What did Dyche get it right or wrong?
Well, look, the theory was that Dominguez was going to provide a bit of air cover for Zach Abbott, but straight away they targeted their left, our right. Dominguez was MIA for those early runs that he got past his man. I think it was pointed out in commentary, wasn't it? He got past three different players in his three first runs of the first 5 minutes down the left-hand side and generated a cross or won a corner from all of them. So I think that was the sense there, was that Dominguez would protect Zach Abbott. We'd focus our attacking down the left-hand side. We'd play channel balls for Hudson-Odoi and Igor Jesus, but none of that materialized. I think Morato was slated to start the second that Neco was suspended, and it was compounded by Murillo's absence. I think Sean said pre-match that Nets had been in the building for a day and a half and he wasn't ready. I think he will be next time out if similar circumstances present. I think that Zach Abbott, don't want him to be a fall guy, a young centre half being asked to play at right back in a system that requires him to distribute, to kick on, to overlap his right midfielder. It's unfair to place too much blame at his door, but because he's a fish out of water, playing out of position, players are reluctant to pass to him, and his choices in possession are a little bit basic. Mistakes are made. The body shape and the strength from the ball means that he gets shrugged off a few times, loses the ball in an attacking sense in the corner. But let's judge him as a centre half when he's a little bit more mature and ready for Premier League football. He was a make weight tonight. I don't want to put too much on him. I do demand more from Morato. He's in his peak years. He should be able to produce more consistency than he is at this moment in time. But with those enforced changes, it's harder for Milenkovic and Aina to shine, and hence they didn't tonight. So yeah, no one in that back four or the keeper has covered themselves in glory. I've got more empathy for Zach Abbott than anybody else. But yeah, we were so lacking tonight. And yet you can see why we made that move for Lewis Dunk. The cover is so far removed from the starting four, and two of them are missing tonight, and didn't it show? Yeah.
We'll expand on that point shortly. Just on missing players, Mark. I mean, Leeds were missing Anton Stack, who's a big player for them. James Justin isn't a centre-back who did admirably playing centre-back. Jayden Bogle has never really been a Premier League right-back, and he's played very, very well tonight. They're missing players or, patching things in. Goodmanson looked like, I don't know, like Maldini or Roberto Carlos or something tonight. We can only take that excuse so far, I think, can't we, for some of this?
Well, I mean, when I saw the team sheet, I said, didn't I, that I didn't think we were going to win this game by grinding out a defensive performance because we had three of the back five out. So you suddenly got to look at it and go, well, if we're going to get anything from this game, we've got to go toe for toe and score goals. And, going into the game thinking we were going to keep this for 0-0 and nick a goal or get away with a 0-0 draw or maybe catch them on the break because we're going to be resolute defensively. When you've got three of the back five missing, you can't really rely on that. And Leeds aren't a side who rely on defensive resolve. Leeds have become a side that have a system of three at the back and wing backs that is creating chances and scoring goals. And they've got Calvert-Lewin who can take them. So Leeds don't go into the game. We're going, well, we're going to rely on our back four, our back three to keep out the opposition, and we're going to nick a goal and win 1-0. They go into a game going, we're going full pace, full intensity, full aggression. We might concede, but we're going to score more goals than the opponent, right? And we don't do that. we went into the game going, well, we build our success on defensive, having that robust defense. But when 3 of the 5 are missing, you can't do that. You can't rely on that as your ploy to win you the game. You've got to think about, well, how else are we going to win this game? We can't rely on the defence, so we're going to have to score some goals. How are we going to set up where we can be a bit more aggressive, a bit more front foot, pose the opposition problems, ask some questions and score some goals? But we didn't do that. We started slowly. They were all over us in the first 5 to 10 minutes. We got back in the game and got an element of control. We did create some chances. But then, as soon as the goals go in, it looks as though the belief is sapped out of the players in terms of, can we get back in this? And then, like I said, he didn't take the opportunity at half-time to reinvigorate that belief and give them a chance to get back in it. So I just think Leeds have a system and tactics and way of playing that means that they can absorb players missing, and we don't.
Quick word for the Trent Navigation. Thanks as ever to those guys. Excuse me. We do play Wolves at the City Ground on Wednesday night, so head down for all the build up to that. I think Fodders will be on the mic because it's a home game and it's a very, very big game that we'll discuss towards the end of the show and through the week. Certainly on screen, if you're watching it on YouTube, you can see all the offers that they have throughout the week. So even if it's a non-football night, do head down to the Nav, get your dinner there and make a good evening of it. And thanks as ever to those guys at the NAB for their support. I'm sure lots of people watched it down there tonight and might be sinking a few pints certainly after that. Just on this thing, Temps, of what I said in the intro, when we're bad, we're bad. I mean, some of the performances this season, some under Ange, but a lot under Dyche. And I think this is the reason why he's going to really, even if we stay up, he's going to really, really struggle to be here next season, because some of these performances are absolutely honking. I mean, Villa away, Everton both times. We can make a list of it. What do you make of it? A reason why? Because it's so awful when we're so awful, isn't it?
Yeah, the audition for next season is looking increasingly tough. Brings me no pleasure to say that. Periods of recent success have come off the back of stability. We certainly haven't got that at the minute, and no one's happy, right? The players aren't enjoying. Mixed messages, change of management. Current management aren't enjoying the results they're getting. But I think what it engenders is a defensive mindset. You're not going to trust Morgan and Elliott to cheat that little bit, get on the ball in more offensive positions, abandon some of their defensive duties and take a risk. So it's harder to go out and excite and seek a way of winning by a couple of goals. It's harder to justify going out and picking 2 out-and-out wingers when you're playing Leeds away. I'd like to think if I was a manager in that position, or a confident manager in that position, would probably pick a Murray Hutchinson from the start tonight. Now, look, if you do absorb it as we did first 5 minutes, spring the break as we did between 5 and 25 minutes, and you end up scoring one of those goals, that decision is celebrated. But having gone down in the way we did in a game like that, you question whether you're better off taking that risk, winning or losing, having little chance for a draw, but having attacking players on the pitch and taking people on. I think that can just engender confidence. You can get on a bounce and find yourself getting the points you need through fewer wins rather than more draws. And I think that's my concern, that with it getting ever tighter in the bottom 4, and it's very much a bottom 4 at this moment in time after that result, you wonder if we're going to become more defensively minded and value the point even more. And the manner in which we set up against Wolves is going to be fascinating, because for me, we still have to pick an attacking positive side that's going to go front foot and take some risk, because being defensively minded and find yourself in a position we had at half time isn't good for anybody's future or confidence. And yeah, I'm concerned that we've gone into too defensive a mindset in this run of 3 fixtures that we all thought was a springboard to easing ourselves clear, and we find ourselves 2 games into it with 1 point from 6.
Thanks very much, Friendly Carper, who recommends the pies. I recommend the pies as well. We'll talk more about the Wolves game at the end for sure, because it is massive. There was a comment from Danscape, which I'm just trying to find. Oh, here we go. First season up, we had Bolly and Worrell seeing out clean sheets and 6 pointers. These lads should be capable. we've been fairly relaxed, perhaps too relaxed at times about relegation, Mark. Are these players, conceiving the gravity of the situation or not when you see them play like that? It's tough to answer, but it is worrying, isn't it?
I haven't been relaxed about relegation.
No, you haven't, but some people have,
yeah. Well, I'd said some weeks ago, didn't I, that do we believe that we are in a relegation battle? Do the players believe? Do the supporters believe? Does the manager believe? And I did say, until we're in that mindset that we are in a relegation battle, we're at risk of sleepwalking into trouble, right? And I don't know. I mean, like I said back then, you ask anyone who supports another club, a neutral fan, and say, "Oh, are you in a relegation? Do you think you're in a relegation battle?" There's almost this perception that we're not in trouble, and I think we've been in trouble for weeks and weeks and weeks because of the way we were playing and the inconsistency in our performance that meant that we couldn't go into any game and be absolutely confident we can win it. And that's the case now. We go into the Wolves game and now we're edgy and wondering whether we're good enough to beat Wolves, who are the worst team in the Premier League. So it shouldn't be like that, but we haven't got a method of playing that we can take from match to match that builds confidence in the players and the supporters that we can score goals and win a football match. We have scenarios that seem to be perfect for Dyche and makes it likely we can get a result. And we've had some of those, and that's got us a place, but that is not a plan and a system that works match to match. And that's why we've seen these dips in performance all the time, because nothing seems to translate. Nothing seems to be consistent in the way he sends the team out and the way we play. So a lot of it depends on the match state or the opposition weaknesses. And that is a really risky way of playing, but it seems, Dyche's way of getting a team to survive, and hopefully it works. But I do think there's a huge risk. And I don't know. I don't know what the player's mindset is. What I saw tonight was a lack of belief, and almost like, well, this one's gone. So let's think about Wolves now. And yes, perhaps at 3-0, that probably was the scenario, but it did show when we scored the goal and in the last 10 minutes of stoppage time just how, there's a lack of confidence in that Leeds defence and the Leeds crowd, that when you get at them and score a goal, they can crumble a bit. And had we come out second half with a more positive mindset, been front foot and maybe got that third goal rather than they did, we could have got something from today's game. But again, I don't think he injected that belief and set them up for that chance to get back in the game.
But we went into this game, Terence, with, he's up for manager of the month. Matz Sels is coming off save of the month. 4 good performances. I thought we played really well v Palace, and then we just deliver that. I don't know. I don't know what I'm asking you to say. What do you make of that when I don't know what you can make of that? It's just so strange and so concerning in some ways.
Yeah, very concerned about our away form. I think the resilience we showed in slightly different ways against Palace and Arsenal at home gives me some confidence. But I expect West Ham to take points this weekend, and the situation becomes increasingly uncomfortable. And there's huge pressure on that Wolves game. I don't know what to add to what I've already said there. I don't think Sean Dyche is mindful to make any material change from the path that he's going down at this moment in time. He favours a slightly more direct style of play. He favours crosses into the box, and I'm sure we're going to talk about the striker, but I can see a world in which Lorenzo Lucca displaces Igor Jesus as our starting 9. I think that that's a Dyche signing. He profiles to that style of play where we're going to see more regular crosses from deep, but it's going to rely on picking 2 wingers and feeding him from both sides, because he's not going to run in behind or be quite the back to goal player that Igor Jesus is. So if there's a change that Dyche is mindful to make, it's the 9 and the manner in which we play into him.
Just on the Igor Jesus then, Mark. I mean, I think Lucca should come into the team, perhaps. And I know it's really harsh on Igor Jesus, but when you see that back post header that Jesus had, and he didn't really ever look like scoring, and then I don't know if he'd have put that chance away that Lucca put away. So I don't know if he'd been in that position. I just think he's doing really well. But is Lucca just the guy that you're going to go to, or is that just really premature from me based off 30 minutes where he looked fairly decent and scored a good goal?
No, I think that what I'm struggling with is I don't see our route to goal. I don't go into games going, this is how we're going to score a goal. It feels like we're going to score a goal either from a defensive error or a bit of individual brilliance from one of our players, and you can't rely on either of those. Right? So I don't see a method in our attacking play that gives us opportunities to create chances to score goals. And the problem we've had with Igor Jesus is we haven't created enough good opportunities for him to score goals. He can score goals, but we don't have a method of play that is creating chances for him that are good enough. Like I think the chance like that header was a good chance. He got that wrong, but the data I've spewed out on this podcast before shows that we haven't created enough for him. With Lucca, it's far easier to create chances for him because he's 6'7", and so all you have to do really is throw enough crosses into the box, and he'll get his head on some. So unfortunately, because we don't have that method of play or that intricacy in our build-up, and it's there at times, but it's not there consistently, right? You know, it was there for 20 minutes at Brentford and it looked great, and it was there for periods against Palace, but it's not sustainable. We haven't got a method of play that's sustainable. So the most sustainable way of attacking, it seemed under Dyche, is just get crosses into the box. And if that's the case, we'll have to go all in, won't we? It feels like that. We have to go all in on that to survive. And that is, like Temp says, play 2 wide men, play the big striker, and just throw crosses in and hope that either something drops or it goes onto his head and he converts it. But I think that is the inevitable outcome now.
Dave asks if Williams is back on Wednesday. Yes, he is. It was a one-match ban. I mean, just on that striker situation, Temps, I suppose the argument for Igor Jesus is I don't think Lucca's got particularly good rep for hold-up play and linking the play, which is where Igor Jesus does thrive. So you might be solving one issue to create another one if you change it. What are you doing on Wednesday?
Well, the other stat that leapt out for me in Seb's commentary was Morgan Gibbs-White's had top Premier League goal scorer with 6, and that's more than double what anyone else has got. So whatever Igor Jesus is adding to the team, and we've all spoke about that. We've seen him pull balls out the sky, occupy centre halves, and hold the ball particularly well. He's not having enough shots on target, very, very low conversion rate, and he's certainly not scoring enough goals. So fundamentally, that's the metric of a striker. So I'm happy to lose what he offers to give Lucca a chance. I think it's a higher percentage play. There's going to be some times when it's ugly. There's going to be some misplaced crosses when we're simply tasked with the volume over quality at times. But look, it's needs must. We're running out of opportunities to get the points that we need. We don't know how low the drawbridge is going to be. We're aware that West Ham are probably going to pick up points at the weekend, but I think we have to accept what we're going to lose in the absence of Jesus and embrace the style and the attributes of Lorenzo Lucca.
942 people with us, which is really good. Do hit like and subscribe. That'd be great before you go. A couple of people mentioning Lucca Nets, Mark. I mean, at night are very slim positives, but he looked perfectly competent when he came on. It's slightly hindsight to say why didn't he start, but I mean, why didn't he start?
I presume fitness maybe, but he's played every week, hasn't he, for Mönchengladbach? You know, so he wasn't coming in without match fitness. I wouldn't have thought. It's a different level, and I guess Elland Road's a difficult place to throw him in at, but it's a difficult place to throw Abbott in at as well. So, you know, you can't say, oh, I didn't want to throw him in for his debut at Elland Road, intimidation, conditions and all that, but then, I'm going to give the young lad his debut in the Premier League instead. I mean, that doesn't make much sense, does it? So I don't know. He looked handy when he came on. He looked like he had a good touch. He was technically good. He wanted the ball. He didn't shy away from it. We gave him the ball because at times we didn't give Abbott the ball. You know, nothing against Abbott, but he's a limited fullback, mainly because he's not a fullback. So he's not going to give you as much in terms of crosses and, you know, going forward. Whereas, Nets, I like the look of in the 10, 15 minutes we got. So that's hopeful. Lucca as well. He's going to be a threat if we put crosses in. Of course he is. So those are the positives. There's no doubt. If Lucca's going to be effective, though, we need that box crashing player. We need to get, people around him to pick up the bits and pieces, because he's not always going to be able to get headers on goal, but he might disrupt the defence where the ball drops, and we've got to get players in the box. And we haven't done that well enough this season under Dyche. We haven't got numbers in the box for the crosses. We've been throwing crosses in, but not with numbers there. So there are things we've got to get better at. It could be enough to keep us up. It could be. But it just worries me that I look at West Ham and their attacking options and their routes to goal look more plentiful than ours. And it's going to come down to whether they can get anything out of their defence, which has been absolutely woeful, as to whether they can pick up points. And it just worries me a bit that Nuno is better at that than Dyche appears to be at getting attacking play and goals out of our team.
Yeah, West Ham our fates are very much intertwined. I think we're watching their results every single game now. Just looking at the goals briefly, then, Temps. I made a facetious comment about Ortega because I do think he's a good, solid signing. He's not had a good night tonight, though, has he? I mean, that first goal, so many players at fault. Were you throwing Ortega in that bracket as well for not being more committed to coming out?
All I'd say for the first goal is it's a heavy pitch. It's glistening, bit of inconsistent bounce, and two things can happen on a bowling green with a bit of water on top that can skid on it straight to the keeper. We just looked that little bit heavy, didn't it? It was the worst pitch we've played on this season, and he's probably questioning his judgment as to what's going to happen there. But he was in a bit of no man's land, wasn't he? He didn't get out quickly enough. He tried to throw the leg, but it was a calm, composed near post finish. So. Yeah, I'm not battering him for the first goal. Distribution, pretty simple. Looked to go short where he could. But unfortunately, and after his tap to centre half, far too often it was a clip into centre mid where there was too much traffic, and Leeds just swarmed us and won it back in positive areas of the pitch, or as a pretty aimless lump. Slightly critical of his distribution. Yeah, look, Matz Sels remains the number one for me, and when he can play, he should.
Yeah. I say he just didn't. I don't recall him making a save. Actually, he did make a save for the second goal, Mark. But then I don't know. I mean, I don't think that goal happens if Murillo's on the pitch, because I don't think Aronson gets away as easy as he did, does he?
No, I mean Morato just let him have too much time to play that ball, didn't he? And yeah, I mean, I feel sorry for Ortega. Really, because he's playing in front of a much changed defence, so they don't have that stability in front of him. So, even Sels with that much changed defence would probably struggle, because it does cause uncertainty, doesn't it? And so he's a new keeper who doesn't know those players, and then the regular back fours, two of them are missing. So, and it's awful conditions, intimidating atmosphere. There's a lot of factors that would go into it. So I don't want to, make a judgment call on Ortega just yet. I think he is a very good keeper, very accomplished, and the best challenge we've had to Sels since Sels arrived at the club, in my opinion. So, yeah, don't take too much from that. Like I said, it was always going to be, we were always going to concede a goal tonight. You look at the team sheet, you think we're not going to keep a clean sheet with that defence and a new goalkeeper. So, you have to plan for that and go, well, we're going to have to be a bit more front foot and a bit more aggressive. And I don't think we did enough with that. We certainly didn't do enough with that after 45 minutes at the break. So, yeah, I'm not making a judgment call on Ortega yet.
And third goal, Temps. It's just another catalogue of errors, isn't it? Anderson, poor clearance, Sangare and Morato. I mean, Guro could have taken another 3 touches. No one seems to close him down. It was really, really worrying, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that was an uncharacteristic clip into centre mid from Elliot Anderson. That's not what needs to happen there. Under pressure in the corner, you've got to clear with distance rather than trying to find a man in traffic. He's our most talented distributor. He's got every pass in the book, but that was a bad one. Good improvised finish from Calvert-Lewin, but just symptomatic of a low confidence team. They're all looking around at each other when that goes in, and 3 or 4 people are culpable in the 10 seconds before we concede that one. Yeah, really, really, really poor, and just compounded Leeds' effort. For they outran us, outbattered us. It's a game that they won. They imposed themselves. They took their chances, and yeah, when you're down 2-0 and trying things, it can bite you, and that's what we saw with the third goal. They just waited for their time. allowed that clip in centre mid, swarmed us, and it was just calm and confident from that point, wasn't it? They looked like a better team than they are today because we let them. They had some big performances from players who aren't traditionally the stars of the show, and they were good value in the end. It pains me to say.
Just one more point on the game, Mark, before we talk Wolves and the bigger picture. What did you make of the subs mid-match? Morgan comes off after. I mean, one of the tackles. I hate to see tackles where you're 3-0 down in the game and heads go, and Sangare put one in, and it could have been a lot worse. And it felt to me like the game was massively unraveling there. Did Dyche just go damage limitation? Get some of these lads off, although he left Sangare on, which I thought was risky. What did you make of those changes?
I mean, I presume he took Morgan off to save him for Wolves. Simple as that. He said something to him as he came off. I don't know. It just felt like that. I mean, the subs were all like for like, weren't they? This is the frustrating thing. When he brought Lucca on, that was for Jesus. When he brought Hutchinson on, that was for Dominguez. So that was just the same positions, no tactical or system change whatsoever. And then the other two changes were Yates for Gibbs White, and who was the other change he brought on?
Dan Ndoye.
Yeah, Ndoye for Hudson-Odoi. So that was like for like as well. So, you look at those changes that he made, and none of them actually changed the pattern of play or the way we played at all. Obviously, Hutchinson is more attacking than Dominguez, but it wasn't a positional change. And so his substitutions had no impact on the game whatsoever, other than preserving Gibbs White for midweek. And I don't think I'd love Colin to ask him in the interview, 2-0 down at half time, Sean, what was your thinking and why didn't you feel you needed to make a change at half time? I'd love him to ask that question. He probably won't. I don't know why he wouldn't ask that question, because I'd love to hear Sean Dyche's theory as to what he told the players and why he felt sending out the same team, playing in the same way, was going to get us back in the game. What he saw in that first half where we were overrun and tactically out-battled and out-fought, what he thought was going to change. I'd love to know. But for some reason, no one seems to ask him that kind of question, which is frustrating, because to me, that's the key question that needs to be answered tonight. And all those Forest fans who stick up for Dyche and say that, points per game and all that, I'd like them to maybe answer what their theory was there, because I don't see it other than tactical inflexibility and lack of ideas on what to do with the players he's got on the bench behind him.
There's a lot of anger around tonight, Temps, which you can understand. There's so much pressure on this Wolves game now, isn't there? Because if we don't win that game, even if we draw it, then we're really right back to where we were, with the manager right in the firing line for a lot of people again, aren't we?
Oh yeah, no question. I mean, we beat Wolves to have taken 4 points from 9 in this run of 3 fixtures. We draw for 2 points from 9, and questions start to be asked. I think it just feels increasingly unlikely that Sean Dyche has any role to play beyond the end of the season. But he remains the man for now. I don't think making a change at this point is in anybody's interest. I think we've got we're still odds-on favourites to avoid the drop for a reason. But this West Ham's result tomorrow and what happens midweek could jar that. I think we should have more than enough about us to beat Wolves, but I've said similar things ahead of Leeds and Palace, and we're running out of games, right? And we now rely on the drawbridge being lower than we expect that it might be. Huge game. Really need to make a positive start, because it could be a tense stadium if we find ourselves struggling to get a foothold in that first 30 minutes or so. Neco will be restored, which is a big positive, and let's pray for Murillo's calf.
Yeah, I think that's such a big thing of it. Does our Premier League survival depend on injuries as much as anything, Mark? If Murillo misses 2 or 3 games, then it could get a lot worse, couldn't it?
Yeah, and I think it depends on West Ham more than us. I don't see us having enough to pull away. I think it's if West Ham suddenly manage to keep clean sheets, we're going to get relegated. That's the long and short of it, I think, because I don't see us we played tonight the team that we were level on points with, the team that, if you look above us, the team that we should be nearest to. We were nowhere near them. So that tells us that it's us or West Ham. So it's going to come down to West Ham's results, really, and whether Nuno can somehow inject some robustness to that defence. I don't think he will. I think they're going to have to keep on scoring goals to get results and win matches, and maybe that'll be too much for them. But they have got goals in that team. As for us, I think we will win some games and get some points between now and the end of the season. But that, for me, is us crossing our fingers that West Ham don't put a string of wins together. We're all presuming that they're so bad they're not going to do that. I'm not totally convinced that's the case. What I am convinced about is we don't seem to be playing in a way that enables us to consistently have a method of winning football matches that we can take match after match after match. We'll win ad hoc matches between now and the end of the season, and we're going to have to hope that's enough. And that has me very, very worried.
Yeah, I mean, I still, in theory, think 1 win in 3 should be enough. West Ham have got a lot to do. Let's see if they can do it. The more bigger concern is, Thames, can we do it? West Ham obviously play Burnley tomorrow, so could chip 3 points off the difference. Be a massive boost for us if Burnley get anything from that game. Then their next game, West Ham's next game, is Tuesday night against Man United, and then we play on the Wednesday. So it's conceivable that points could be level by then. And the nerves, it's going to be a horrific game against West Ham, but against Wolves potentially, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, the cricket adage, points on the board and scoreboard pressure, I'd still rather be in our position than West Ham's. And West Ham fans would rather be in our position than theirs. So, look, it's easy to be emotional and downbeat after the performances that we've just seen and the results that we've just endured, and the gulf that we've demonstrated between the team in 16th and 17th. But yeah, I suppose the caution I'd pour on that is we're doing better than West Ham. We've got more points on the board than West Ham, and there's quite a bit they need to do to get level with us. I don't see them getting 6 points from their next 2, and I still believe that we can have that inward focus and believe in our ability to pick up the points that we need to pick up. Wolves game is massive. I think that that the questions being asked internally and the soul searching and the tweaks and changes and the abandonment of whatever plan Dyche is on now, CD or E, I'm not sure, would come to the fore if we weren't to pick up 3 points against Wolves. West Ham would come again at that point, and we wouldn't look at that next run of fixtures in quite the same way. I think our league games in February remaining are Wolves and Liverpool, right? It's massive. There's no discounting that. And I think even my boundless optimism might be challenged if we don't pick up 3 points next Wednesday.
The thing is, Matt, I look at our games to come, and the one game that I know we'll play well in and have a system of play is Liverpool at home. Yeah. And that is, in a nutshell, that's the problem. Under Dyche, you look at those games and you go, I don't know what we're going to get at Wolves at home. Certainly don't know what we're going to get at Brighton away. Man City away, well, we're going to sit deep and hope we can hang on and nick one. But you look at Wolves at home, Brighton away, Fulham at home. Those are the games you look at and think that's where our points are going to come. I don't know what we're going to get because we don't know how Dyche is going to set the team up tactically to play in those games and what we're going to get. Whereas with Leeds, you know exactly what you're going to get game to game. And they would look at fixtures like Wolves at home, Brighton away and Fulham at home and go, we can get some points there because we know the way we play, the way we attack, we can score goals and win those games. We don't have that in us. We have this inconsistency and a method of playing that works in certain scenarios, Liverpool at home being one of them, where we can probably get a point against Liverpool. And I'm more confident about getting a point against Liverpool than I actually am about us beating Wolves convincingly. And that's bizarre, isn't it? But that sums it up, really. And that's the difficulty we've got with the way Dyche is setting us up.
Let me just put a counter narrative out, just float this then, Thames. We play Wolves, we have Neco back, we have Murillo back. Surely we should be able to get something. I know Wolves are improved. At the same time, Leeds play Chelsea away. Then they have Aston Villa away. I mean, it could swing back and forth quickly as it has done. Mark's shaking his head.
Leeds are gone. Leeds are gone. We're not
Leeds will
catching
be
Leeds.
fine. Leeds should be fine.
Yeah.
But my point is, we could chip away at Leeds and then be thinking we're going to be fine. It's just the unknown of when we're going to drop in an absolutely stinking performance, and then Dyche is very streaky, and we could lose 3 or 4 in a row. It's the fear of not knowing what's coming, as much as actually this time Wednesday, West Ham might not have picked up points. We might have beaten Wolves, and we might be feeling different. A lot of it's fear, and it's depressing, I suppose, of how it's all come to this, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a total shift in mindset. We've lost the right to look upwards because we've failed to beat Palace. We've failed to beat Leeds. The 2 results I'm looking at for Forest and West Ham. I think we're looking over our shoulder. It's a 2-horse race we're in. There's zero hope for Wolves and Burnley escaping that bottom 3, but we've made ourselves vulnerable should West Ham put a streak together. And yeah, that would be gut-wrenching after the season we had last year, the players that we put together. And this is what I can't quite level. I believe so much in the ability of our best 11, but I'm not seeing them organised and deployed in the way that gets the best out of them. If Chris Wood had have been fit, we'd have been playing 11 players that were here last season. The familiarity, the chemistry, the ability that's in that group. There's not anyone in that best 11 that I would call out as not wanting to have a long-term future at Forest, but the sum of all parts at the minute is far beneath where it was and what it should be. So yeah, look, it's so galling. I was just glancing back at our kind of Premier League performances. We finished 7th last year. Previous season 17th and 16th, and I think the best we can hope for from this point is probably 17th again, and that belies the progress we've made in the squads that we've had, because this squad is so much better than the squads that finished 16th and 17th in 23 and 24.
Yeah, certainly should be. 1,100 people with us, basically, which is fantastic. Just before we go to final thoughts, do hit like, thank you. Before we go to final thoughts, thanks very much to Nottingham Window Company. Very much appreciate their support. If you're looking for new windows or doors, do click the link in the description and see what they can offer for you. A word of apology to Ben Sales. You'll have to get 2 ads next week, Ben, because I forgot to do your video for your house of the week. So you're going to get 2 properties of the week next week if you're listening to this. So apologies. Right. Final thoughts meets the chaps, and then we'll be back on Monday lunchtime with Kelv and Pete, and Temps is back. So we'll see how he feels on Monday, if he feels any better. Mark, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, very worrying. And I think it's, we've said throughout, we're just not able to build that belief and confidence, are we? Because every time we look like we could string a series of performances and results that springboard us out of trouble, we have these hideous lows like tonight. And I know that the injuries were against us, but I do think we could have mitigated that in the way we set up and our mindset. And we certainly could have at least tried to fight our way back into the game with some positive changes at half time, and we didn't do it. And there's it's very difficult to look anywhere but at the manager for that, I'm afraid. And going forward, yeah, I think our fate lies in relying on West Ham's inconsistency as well, because I don't think we're going to be anything but inconsistent. I think there are matches that we can get points in, like I said, but there are matches also I look at and think I just do not have a clue what we're going to produce in those games in terms of performance and result. And that's the worrying thing. And as Temps has hit the nail on the head, that this team is far, far better than this. And, it's very difficult for me to look anywhere else but the manager as to why he's not put a system in place to get the best out of these players so we can pull away from this trouble we're in. And he hasn't been able to do that. So for me, there is no debate about whether Sean Dyche is here next season. That's already over for me. But now it's about the grind to survival. It's going to be horrible. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be nerve-wracking. It's going to be by the skin of our teeth, and we just have to hope it's enough.
I suppose Dyche would say, look at the points we've accrued. Yes, there's some bad performances in there, but results have taken us to where we are. I don't know. That's the counter argument. That
Yeah, but you can't have a future where it's like this. You can't.
not
You
long
can't.
term. No.
No, exactly. So you can't commit to this kind of way of playing and this lack of inconsistency in our performances match to match. That can't be our future. We don't want a future also where we're throwing in crosses to a 6'7" striker. Nobody wants that next season either. Really, we want something more than that and progression on from what we built under Nuno, and that is not what we want. We'll settle for it now because we need to survive.
Temps, final word to you.
Look, Dyche will be on a podcast in 3 years' time, and he'll say, I walked into an absolute bin fire at Forest. I saved them from relegation. I hit the target that was set by the owner. I took my bonus. They still chopped me, but I wish them well, and I'm glad they're doing better now. I can hear him saying it, probably in discussion with Sam Allardyce or under the cosh or something like that. It wasn't a favourable situation that he walked into. And you know what? Fair play. We will reflect on the fact that we had 5 points from 8, and he kept us up. That was the brief at the time. But yeah, echo what Mark said. But here's how we beat Wolves: restore Neco Williams, keep faith with that central midfield 3, but allow Elliot Anderson and Morgan Gibbs-White the attacking licence that they need to hurt any team. Pick 2 out-and-out wingers. Start Lorenzo Lucca and have that frequency of crosses into the box. And I think that should be enough to dispose of Wolves at home. If it isn't, there's a pretty serious tone to the chats in the dressing room, on the podcasts, in the mainstream football media after that game. And I think the narrative could change pretty quickly. But yeah, I don't think it's hard to set up to play the worst team in the Premier League at home. Knowing that you've got a group of professional footballers who should be motivated to win that game and ease themselves that bit closer to safety. I know exactly what I'd do. I think everybody watching this and listening to this would probably do the same thing. Impose what we feel our strengths are upon Wolves and pick our best 11 players to go out and beat them. Subtle tactical shift because of the introduction of a striker that Dyche wanted. And fits that profile. It is a must-win game.
Good stuff. Thanks for everyone's company. If you've, I don't know what the right word is, probably not enjoyed. If you stayed with us, then do us a favour, hit like, hit subscribe, do consider membership or Patreon or 5-star review on Apple. Spotify would be great. Like I say, back on Monday with Pete and Kelv. I think I can think of some different questions so Temps doesn't say the same thing over and over again. And obviously West Ham are playing between now and then as well. Mark Sutherns, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you very much, Temps. Good to see you as usual. And hopefully next time I'm on is a more positive result and outlook.
Hopefully so. Michael Temple, thank you very much.
Cheers, fellas. Good to see you too. I'm going to put a little video of my boy on Instagram who pre-game was in full kit and doing his Gibbs-White impression. And with 20 minutes to go was fast asleep next to me, which is, probably how most kids felt watching that tonight. But yeah, depressing one. Still think we'll stay up, but we've taken a backward step there and put so much pressure on ourselves next Wednesday.
Mark Sutherns, one word answer: will we stay up?
It's a very unconvincing yes.
I think my answer might depend on what West Ham do, I suppose, in the next 2 games. Because really, they play twice. West Ham play twice before we play again, so that's important. And let's see what they do, because that does shape the whole conversation. Right, like I say, thanks very much to everyone. Have the best weekend you can, and if we don't see you Monday, we shall see you soon.